Welcome to the bunker.
Preppers, survivalists, off-gridders, homesteaders, and the like. Welcome to Top's Bunker, a podcast for preppers. Email shtf@topsbunker.com, website topsbunker.com, YouTube Top's Bunker podcast channel, and of course X and Instagram. Please check the show notes in your podcast player for a link to help support the show. There you'll find valuable products and gear and extra info on this episode. We'd love for you to go over to the Top's Bunker podcast channel on YouTube and click the subscribe button. We're trying to grow that channel and could really use your support. You can listen to all the podcast episodes and check out some videos as well. No membership required, 100% free. All we ask is that you subscribe to the channel. Also, please visit and join Top's Bunker Facebook group. You'll love the interaction with other preppers and like-minded folks. I want to thank y'all for joining us. We've got a great show for you. If you've been a regular listener to the show, then you already know Medic Mike. He brought us the importance of first aid from Refuge Medical on episode 190, then returned to the show on episode 209 with an introduction to homeopathic medicine. If you missed either one of those episodes with Medic Mike, be sure to go back and check them out. His knowledge of life-saving first aid and natural medicinals will blow your mind. Mike is awesome, and we're excited and honored to have him back again tonight to talk about wilderness first aid. And let's be clear, we don't have to be 2 miles into a deep forest off the beaten path to need these skills. From the backyard to the job site, from the Vrbo cabin rental to, yes, the hiking trail to your favorite fishing hole. You will need these skills at some point. The more active you are, the needier you'll be. He's got decades of experience in saving lives and Refuge Medical training as his platform. Get your notepads out, my friends. It's time to go train. Let's get to it.
Let's get this party started. All right, tonight we got Medic Mike on the podcast once again, and using my best 80s radio voice or 90s, whatever it may be.
I was about to say this ain't a nightclub, man. What's going on?
And next on stage is Medic Mike. So, yeah,
I still hate that nickname, bro. I don't even mind it.
Yeah, you're stuck with it now, but
No,
it could be Magic Mike, Medic Mike.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you do the intro video, can you kind of jazz that up a little bit there?
Oh yeah, we definitely need some some stage music there. Heck yeah.
That would be cool.
I was actually looking for some music for wilderness medicine, so I went on YouTube for the show, and I went on YouTube about 30 minutes ago, and I put in wilderness medicine music, and let me tell you something, there are some hippies out there.
Oh, yeah.
And they just grab a guitar, and they just start singing, and it is just strange.
Well, it's really funny. A lot of the wilderness medicine schools, they are all hippy-dippy. We got animal names and wear Crocs and of not war like in the 60s from Vietnam. It's really weird.
Yeah, exactly.
And I come from a tactical background, so it's really weird for me to. I mean, I try to be professional, but it's like these guys are weird.
Naked and afraid.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you something, Mike. The last show you came on was awesome, man. I mean, loaded with information. So many people gave us a lot of great feedback from it.
Sweet. I'm glad it was cool. Good. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And the plan for this episode is we're going to see where it takes us. All things medicine, but I brought him on to talk about wilderness medicine compared to just basic first aid. And they do have a dynamic class coming up. They've got a few seats still available if we needed to. If somebody felt the need to go out and learn a little more, but
well, Mike, didn't you say that you're gonna be doing some sort of course in wilderness medicine?
Yeah, Refuge is doing it, but I'm one of the instructors. I'm the lead instructor, I guess, by credentials, but everyone there knows what the hell they're talking about. They just don't have the piece of paper saying so. But yeah, we're doing 2 classes this year, one in May and one in, I think, November. out here.
Where did you get your credentials?
The University of Utah School of Medicine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. When you said that, in my head I went, "Oh, he must have just taken a course on wilderness medicine." You're talking about being a medic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have basic. I mean, because a lot of it's the same stuff as EMTs do. It's just, it's like makeshift splints out of branches or making a travois or,
okay.
And then you can get onto the herbal or natural side of, skinning a willow tree and making aspirin out of it. And it's a little bit of bushcrafting, making fire, purifying water.
Yeah.
But it's all basic EMT stuff. But in a wilderness setting where you're more than 60 minutes away from definitive care.
Hey, Mike, could you go over a little bit about your background? Because we've got a ton of new users. We got a ton of new listeners since you last came on.
Yeah, so I was a Navy corpsman attached to the Marines for about 15 years. So Greenside Navy. I did 2 tours in the sandbox, and then I did one tour at the hospital in Germany, or a tour. But I learned more, I guess, internal medicine, and after people got blowed up, how to take care of them, that kind of thing. So I was there for 18 months in Germany, and then I did 28 years in EMS in Las Vegas in a busy 911 system. So, and then after that, after COVID happened, I started looking at alternative medicine stuff, and really going down rabbit holes as far as all the stuff that was said about the shot and blah blah blah. And I was like, there's got to be a better way, And then I went to homeopathy school, and I got certified in I'm technically a practitioner in homeopathy, but the history I learned in that class, I had no clue about what happened when the Rockefellers took over the American Medical Association and how many homeopathic colleges there were versus allopathic medicine colleges back in the 1800s, 1700s, and then how it became a big money thing once the Rockefellers took over. It was all about the synthetic medicines and keeping people sick. So another rabbit hole I went down, and now I'm in an herbalism class, our herbalism school, and I'm learning how to do herbalism in austere environments from a former 18 Delta guy who's now an herbalist also. He's been an herbalist for like 30 years, but he's a former 18 Delta guy. And then his buddy, who was an 18 Delta, is an allopathic physician. So they attack the school with Western medicine and herbalism, and what to do when you're in an austere environment and help's not coming. So that's the school I'm in right now. I'm just trying to be a well-rounded medic. So
can you explain what an 18 Delta is for some of the listeners out there that may not know?
A special force, or Green Beret Special Forces medic, and they are. They're basically super paramedics. They basically go to the same didactic paramedic school that any civilian paramedic goes to, but they spend like an extra 1,000 hours on trauma stuff, minor surgeries, stuff like that, big pharmacology medications, and then obviously they know how to blow stuff up and shoot you and kill you at the same time, and how to evacuate you. But it's a very, very, really tough pipeline. They're like, next to a pararescueman in the Air Force, they're the best thing since sliced bread. So, but my understanding is PJs go rescue 18 Delta or Special Forces Green Beret guys when it comes to medicine stuff, is because their pipeline's a little bit longer and a little bit more medicine. I don't know how it can be more medicine, but that's my understanding. Is like PJ is the medicine guy in the Special Forces. So I don't know. That's what I know.
Yeah, I can second the PJ thing. I've had the opportunity to work with a few here lately, and wow, just their knowledge and they are tip of the spear when it comes to medicine. But it's really all your special ops.
For sure.
Community, your ranger medics, your recon medics. Just they're way beyond just your Band-Aid.
For the MARSOC guys, now they changed the acronym to Special Operations Combat Corpsmen or something like that, because, mostly because of the SEALs, but even those new, whatever they're called, SOCCs are, with the Recon Marines now. But I don't know why they changed the acronym, but they're not called MARSOC anymore.
They cross-pollinate a lot too. Yeah. And, cool thing I heard this weekend, and I may or may not have seen this guy, but a guy by the name of David Goggins, who has been all over
he's in the pipeline right now. There's him all over the internet right now about
how did I know that was going to come up?
Yeah. I actually
tabs.
I saw him from a distance this weekend, so yeah, it was all the
years old, 52 years old, going to the pipeline.
Yes, it's insane. I go forward and do good things, man.
Yeah,
do it for all us old guys out there.
A few years back, my old partner back home, he was one of his EMT students, believe it or not, because he lives in Vegas.
Somebody's got to carry the boats.
Yeah, but he's I guess he wants all the services, special schools. So yes, I don't know, but more power to him.
Well, the way he's explained to me this weekend is or past weekend or past week, whatever. What day is it? I don't know. He had gone down a pipeline and for pararescue back in the day and didn't make it. So he became a TAC P, which he was successful, and then he went to go to the be a SEAL and get on the SEAL teams and stuff. And now it was just one of those things where he I guess he loses sleep at night because he failed at something. The guy was an ultra marathon runner, and
he doesn't like
it. So I guess he's going to go prove the world he can still do it. So I'm there cheering him on, man. Go Goggins, man. I'm definitely Team Goggins.
People in the PJ community, from my understanding, are not happy on how he kind of got pushed through. He got an age waiver and all that stuff, and people are kind of butthurt over that. But again, the guy's super fit. I mean, come on, give him a chance.
The weird thing though is you got to think about the number of waivers that he had to get to re-enlist, I should say, and especially in the Air Force. The Air Force doesn't take nobody. Like if you're prior service from another branch, they don't hardly take anybody.
He knew where the bodies were buried for sure.
Oh yeah. So I mean, he had to get an age waiver, time in service, time in grade. He probably had to retake the ASVAB. How many different things did he have to do just to actually be able to re-enlist? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, well let's get on this wilderness medicine thing. What is wilderness medicine?
Again, textbook definition of wilderness medicine is anything more than 60 minutes from definitive care. So if you're out hiking on a trail, mountain biking, that kind of stuff, you're typically not going to be anywhere near a city or a town or a small town with a hospital. So wilderness medicine, it's all, again, basic EMT stuff. If you have above that knowledge and you happen to carry that advanced stuff in your backpack or whatever, then more power to you. Ask for forgiveness later. But it's mostly just stabilizing the patient until you can get the person down the hill or, get a helicopter up there if you have commo. But you have to take care of them, typically for 24 to 48 hours until help can arrive.
Wait a minute. So I'm not going to be able to call 911 and let the medics do it? Let the paramedics come up there and take care of it?
Well, they're not going to get up there right away. Again, it depends on where you're at. I mean, if you're at the top of if you're at the beginning of the trailhead, right off the main road to go into the trailhead, then sure, EMS will come from that town. But the most of the schools are tailored around you're out in the middle of the boonies. You've hiked way off the road to where you parked your car. You're miles from your car, and it's a bike path or a goat path or whatever you want to call it. That's how they teach most. They always put you in a mountainous scenery where there's cliffs and big mountain ranges, and there's no city, there's no civilization anywhere for the eyes to see. But again, it just depends on where you're at. But it also be if you live in the sticks too. Like I do, I live in the sticks, and if I'm more than 60 minutes from a hospital, that's still technically considered wilderness medicine because out here the average response time for EMS is 40 to 45 minutes. So it just depends. Yeah,
it's not very fast.
No, and like we're typically in the big city, they're there 15 minutes. Any metro city, because there's so many ambulances. Like out here, there's like 3 ambulances. In a metro city, you're gonna have 30 to 50, 60 ambulances. So, like back home, if it was an emergency call, we had to be there in 8 minutes and 59 seconds or less.
Mike, for our audience, can you describe, just in your own words or however, what the golden hour is?
The golden hour is as soon as the point of injury to point of definitive care. So so basically you got shot in the leg. From that point on till 60 minutes from there is where you need to be under the knife in the surgical center or at the trauma center. And then you have what's called the platinum 10 minutes, which I don't think they teach that anymore. The platinum 10 minutes is all the stuff you did in those first 10 minutes to package the patient up, get them stabilized as best you can. and then technically you have 50 minutes after that to make the golden hour.
Okay, that's good.
So when you say package a patient, what's involved in packaging? I mean,
what time of year is it? Is it cold outside? Is it snowy? Is it 20 degrees outside, or is it summertime? So you got to keep them warm, because hypothermia is a thing when it comes to trauma and blood loss. So you got to, especially if it's cold time, winter time, snowy, you're in Canada or up in Colorado somewhere in the mountains and it's winter time, you got to keep that heat in there, or they're going to start, going downhill, the lethal triad. They're going to have, elevated heart rate, their pH and their acid base is going to be all messed up, depending on how much blood they lost. Their breathing's going to be irregular. All kind, like I said, when you have even if it's hot outside, you want to keep the patient kind of warm. You don't want them getting cold, so their body doesn't shut down.
So living in if you're a homesteader, let's say, and you're living, usually homesteaders live further away from the cities than what, you're not inside too many people aren't. What am I trying to say here? There's not a lot of people that homestead in the middle of a city.
No.
So you're going to be in a rural area, and like you said,
you can't get a pizza delivered to your house from the city.
You're probably in the wilderness. Yeah. So
I wish I could get delivery. There's so many things that I miss. It'll be like a Friday night, and I'll be like, talking around about what's going to be for dinner. I'm like, hey, let's just order in. No, it don't happen. They don't come anywhere near you when you're in the wilderness. Trust me.
You don't get Uber Eats on a horse?
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. You should protest.
I don't even see horses. I'm so far out.
You might need to learn some wilderness medicine.
Yeah,
definitely.
They need to revamp that dude riding a buffalo. Maybe that should be your Uber guy.
No.
So Mike,
I eat the buffalo.
Hey, I like some buffalo. I'm down. So Mike, when you're talking wilderness medicine, what are some of the injuries that you see out in the wilderness compared to something you might see? Is there a difference in any of the injuries? Or
no, the injuries are the same. But again, if you're hiking or mountain biking, let's say you made a jump and you bipped it and you flew over your handlebars on the bike and you weren't wearing your helmet and you smacked your head on a rock, or you twisted your ankle on the trail hiking. Those are the most common injuries, or sprains, strains. Worst case scenario is you fell, 10, 15 feet off of a ledge or whatever. Like I said, mountain biking injuries, you just, you're doing hardcore Mountain Dew commercial stuff and, do a jump and you eat it, and just get road rash or trail rash, I guess you could call it, and get gravel embedded into your body, or you have a femur fracture. I mean, a broken bone, a broken collarbone, whatever. Those are typically, when you're doing those hardcore sports out there on those trails, but mostly it's like simple stuff, trauma wise, medically, let's say you're out there for an extended camping trip and you just, you're a backpacker and you're backpacking the backcountry and, you start getting a cold, or you didn't cook your food all the way and get food poisoning. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could happen medically. I mean, what is your medical condition before you went up there? Did you bring your meds with you? I mean, but
so like it's more like sprains and strains compared to
stuff. I mean, for as a whole, but like people that aren't physically fit, that I'm gonna go on a nature walk today, and then they didn't bring the right shoes, or they brought brand new shoes or brand new boots, and then they got torn up feet, and or they twisted their ankle, or didn't tie their their ankle high boots to the top eyelid on their boot or whatever, and they were just wearing shorts. Or it rained all of a sudden, and now they're freezing their buns off, because they didn't bring a rain jacket. I mean, so it could be hypothermic. I mean, it could be lots of things. You know how to build a fire, keep warm. You know how to dry your clothes off. And did you bring a sleeping bag? Did you bring a tarp? A poncho? A lot of people that do that stuff go out unprepared. I mean, most of the search and rescue stuff that I was a part of back home, even in Vegas, because there's a lot of trails out there in Red Rock Canyon, and people are just, it's very rocky, and people just didn't go out there prepared. They didn't bring enough water. They didn't bring enough snacks. They dressed the wrong way because of the weather, twisted their ankle, and they had to go send in the search and rescue team to go haul them out there on a basket or a litter.
It sounds like it's pretty fun to me, actually.
Yeah.
But
I think you should just be able to call a WFR.
Well, I was hiking one day out in the woods when I came across a guy who didn't look too good. Having trouble breathing, and his chest is flailed. And I can see his small intestine cause he's been impaled. You don't know how lucky you are. I'm WFR.
And I thought my microdose was not a microdose.
Yeah, so most people that are trail guides or kayak guides on doing river drafting, they're, from my understanding, are required to have at least a minimum of wilderness first aid, and then the next level up is wilderness FR. And I looked at both curriculums, and I don't see any difference, other than a little bit longer time in the classroom doing the same things over and over again. But it's all, again, basic EMT stuff, common sense, making splints out of sticks, making crutches out of, tree branches, keeping them warm,
And what about if you're alone out there in the wilderness and you have nobody to help you do this stuff? I'm assuming that you could also work on yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, providing, your limbs aren't busted up, or your hands aren't broken. Sure. I mean, if you're going to go out by yourself, which we always advocate that you never do, that should always have to be in the buddy system at minimum. But yeah, I mean, hopefully you have to have a cool head, because then you got the wildlife out there too. Are you prepared to deal with wildlife? I mean, did you bring enough gear with you to sustain yourself, or crawl up a tree to ensure the coyotes don't get you, or the mountain lions or whatever? I mean, I wouldn't personally go out there by myself without a buddy.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be we joke around about the wilderness and being in a rural area or homesteading, but I can tell you that there are plenty of people in this country that live in communities that are backed up against or in the woods.
Yes.
And there's been times where kids, little kids, toddlers, have just gone out in the backyard and crossed over that fence, and they just disappeared. And there's been times where they've actually found them the next day, 3-4 miles out. So it doesn't have to be a rural area or someplace like that. You can easily get in trouble if you're in any kind of I grew up in New Jersey, New York, New Jersey area, and it's really urban. But just within a few minutes, you can be in the woods, deep woods, where people can't find you. Yeah. So it is possible.
Absolutely.
So, Mike, what does a typical day of training in a wilderness medicine class look like?
Well, hopefully you're in the wilderness taking the class and not in a classroom doing death by PowerPoint, because that's the whole point that we want to do, at least at Refuge, is take you out. Even though I'm in Oklahoma, it's kind of flat, but we have hills. So, but we have a little thing we call our mountain, and it's kind of it's more jungle-y than wilderness or alpine. But you have to give them the didactic or the textbook stuff, especially if they have no medical background at all. You got to give them the basics, so you have to either do death by PowerPoint, bring a generator with you, out in the field and do a little PowerPoint stuff, or, have them all have the textbook with them and you just do a little read along. But to me, that's not going to teach you anything. You got to put your information from your head to your hands and start doing stuff, actually making the splints, getting out your paracord and tying sticks together. Again, it depends on how in depth the wilderness class goes. Like I said, we incorporate a little bit of bushcrafting, how to make fire, how to purify water from a dirty source. We do a little bit of rope work, a little bit of, basic knots, because, especially if you're in bear country, and you don't want all your food getting attacked by the bear. So you want to, how to hoist stuff up on a tree. And then being that we're Refuge, we still, which I don't know why we do this, but we do it. We have a little tactical aspect as well, as far as, having, when you're doing night stuff, pace counts, red lights, that kind of stuff. So you can find your way around, situational awareness, points of interest, or, for northeast, southwest, a little bit of land nav, basic land nav, little basic map reading. But I mean, that's what we did last year. Like I said, that was our first time doing this. So this year we have a helicopter coming. So we're going to do we got a civilian helicopter crew going to land on one of the LZs up there, and we're going to do helicopter operations as well as like, okay, we called 911. Now we got to package the patient up and get him on the helo, listen to the crew chief or the flight medic, and how to approach the helicopter safely. What kind of stuff's on the helicopter, So you'll know all this helicopters coming. It's got all the bells and whistles, all the vents, all the medications, advanced providers, that kind of stuff. So that'll be new for us this year.
Wow. Yeah, sounds like that's exciting. So you're going to bring in helicopters. You're going to package the patients up. You're going to do all the things that people they watch it on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, how much more fun could that be at all?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's I wish we could do it longer, because to me 3 days isn't long enough to get the full experience. Because again, a lot of it's the textbook stuff you got to go over, and you got to break everything down Barney style and try and make it as simple as possible for them. And most of it's common sense. It's kind of like when we teach in trauma. If there's a hole in it, plug it. Kind of thing. But people are so afraid. Like, I don't want to hurt the patient. Well, you're in the middle of nowhere. There's not much more worse you could do. I mean, you assist them, make them comfortable, put them in a position of comfort, keep them warm, keep them hydrated. I mean, people don't even think about stuff like that. It blew my mind on how little people knew, or even other classes I've taught, how little people know. And it was mostly just common sense. That they're so worried about hurting the patient that they're like, but you've gone camping on your own before with your family as a teenager, right? Yeah. But we had a campfire, and it was a big campground. There was a lot of the people around, and okay, I get it. But still, you're still out there roughing it a little bit. I mean, if you're not glamping, you're still making, fire, minus your Coleman stove and kind of stuff. But it's just really, really weird that people get so caught up in the minutia of hurting the patient or not wanting to do the wrong thing. By not doing anything, it's going to be worse. At least a try, and you have to kind of get them over that mindset of he's all you got. You're his only buddy out there. You need to help them, and you can't mess this up. I mean, but I don't know. They just get so afraid to touch the patient. They don't want to make it worse. They don't want to do something bad or wrong.
Yeah, it's that indecision that's going to get somebody hurt worse.
Yeah, second guessing themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever find that students or people who are providing care ever go into, basically they call it analysis paralysis, like they like they overthink the situation, and instead of just going into treatment, they just storm their brain with what they need to do first?
Yeah, it's like almost like they're getting test anxiety, But yeah, absolutely, that happens a lot, and it's like and until you do it with your own hands and physically touch the patient, or physically put that splint on or wrap that bandage around their leg or their arm or their shoulder or whatever, give them the confidence and then the competence to do it. That's why we really want to do more scenario based and more hands-on stuff. But again, we're still trying to improve on, we have the textbook, we have the syllabus, we know what the requirements are to teach the class, but not everyone learns the same way, but we also want them to participate and get their hands dirty.
Have you guys ever been able? Oh, go ahead.
So go ahead. No, you're.
Well, I was just going to ask: have you guys ever been able to move into live tissue training?
We talk about it a lot. We have not been able to find how to do that as civilians without spending a crap load of money.
Right, right.
And have PETA all over your ass too.
Yeah, I mean, because I did it in the military, but that was 20 plus years ago.
Right.
So, but I would love to have a live tissue lab, because even our medical director, he's a former special forces doctor, and we've been asking him, do you have any connections? And he's like, man, I can't get anyone to even remotely say that he, again, but he's also not, he's probably not really hounding them, but we don't know who to ask if even civilians can do that kind of stuff without spending a rip load of money.
Yeah, but nothing at all beats live tissue training.
No,
it really, you can't beat it.
That was definitely an experience. But again, that was 20 plus years ago for me.
So as far as it sounds like to me, the wilderness training, not only you're up there doing medical stuff, you're doing, your wilderness skills.
It's a little bit of survival, I would say, because again, it depends on the weather. Is it raining? Is it snowing? Are you shivering? Are you freezing? I mean, are you soaking wet because you try to do a river crossing or a creek crossing and you fell? Now you're soaking wet. You don't have a change of clothes. I mean, it could be all kinds of stuff.
So, are most of the wilderness medicine classes, is there a land navigation requirement, or is that just something Refuge does in addition to?
I think we would just add that just to give them a little familiarity. How to shoot a basic azimuth. How to do the scales on the maps. But that's what the students asked for. It was not part of our original class. And it's not in the curriculum at all to do that. But a lot of I say kids because I'm old. A lot of the students were like, "Hey man, we would love to touch on map reading and little land nav." And they're like, "Heck yeah, let's do it. Let's get out." So we made a compass part of the gear list.
So you're teaching survival skills in addition to the
basics,
basic medicine. The first aid portion of it. That's pretty awesome to have such a class where you're bringing it all in.
Yeah. If you're going out in the middle of the woods, the middle of wilderness, and you're not prepared, we put them in that situation. Okay, like you fought with what you brought, kind of thing. On the tactical side, if you didn't bring it with you, you don't have it. So now what are you going to do? Then you got to start thinking about ways to improvise, overcome, and adapt. Like I said, use your surroundings as shelter, or making a fire, or like I said, getting branches to make a splint, or whatever. Tying vines together if you don't have tape or a paracord. Finding some vines to secure something. We just try to give them all those kinds of scenarios. Like, what if this happens?
So, what would be one of the? Well, give me the top three things that would happen to somebody in the wilderness. They're going on a hike, or maybe you could use a scenario where they're hiking, biking, or one for each. Who knows?
Again,
what are some of the injuries?
The main ones are strains and sprains. They twist their ankle. They slipped, on the dirt, or they tripped and then they hit their kneecap on a pointed rock or at the edge of a rock, and now their their knees all swollen. I mean, it's typically leg injuries from my experience, like I said, ankles or knees. Like I said, hardcore mountain bikers, they're doing those crazy jumps and they just hit the dirt wrong and they bounce off their seat, flip over the handlebars. The bike smashes them and then they smash into a rock or a tree or whatever, going 35 miles an hour down a hill. But that again, that's an extreme thing. But again, it's mostly the sprains and strains, occasional, broken bones or fractures, just from slipping.
Most people, I think, I would say the majority of people are going out having fun in the wilderness and the wild and on the hiking trails, whatever it is. Most of them, I would say, are going out not prepared enough. Some of them not prepared at all.
Yep.
So, and I can tell you this, I'm surrounded by woods, and my property is almost all woods, and they're not just straight flat woods. They're hilly and, we call little mountains. Mm-hmm. And there's times where I'm completely unprepared. I'll be outside working and I'll have just my boots and my, as far as equipment, I'll have my boots and my firearm on me, and that's it. And I'll hear something or see something, and I'll go to the edge of my woods, and then I'll be like, nope, I got to go in. So I'll go in a little bit, and I'll say, well, I'm just going to go in, 100 yards, and I go in 100 yards, and then 200 yards. Next thing you know, I'm a quarter of a mile down into the woods, way away from the house. I'm totally by myself, no radio, no way of communicating, and anything could happen. I went out there once during a rainstorm because I just wanted to see the wet weather creeks that we had and how they were moving and filling and all that sort of thing. And I slipped on some mud. And I was wearing my mud boots and rain gear and all that. But I slipped on the side of a hill that was, it was all leaves, but there was mud under the leaves and it was soaking wet. Rain was pouring down. And I slipped and went down probably 35 feet into a wet weather creek that was rushing. That could have turned dangerous real fast. I mean, you can easily get into trouble really quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, depending on how hard it's raining too, your vision is poor. You can't see as far because the rain's coming down so hard, and especially if it's dark, or getting to be dark. That rain's coming down so hard you can't see anything. Let alone your footing. And the mud happens.
Yeah. You see it on movies where people going through and they slip on some mud on the side of a hill, and you're like, well, why can't you just grab something? It happens so fast.
Yeah.
You just boom, and all of a sudden you're 35 feet later.
You're the one sliding down that mudslide, like, I need something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People don't know how to traverse hills and up or down hill and stuff. They just, I'm going to walk straight down. And
a lot of, again, in my experience too, it's a lot of city slickers who've never been in the country. Like I said, this is supposed to be a fun hike for them. Hey, I'm going to go hike this trail. It's a popular trail. And it just happens to be a day that barely anyone's on that trail or no one's on that trail. And again, they came totally unprepared.
So bare minimum, what should they bring with them? Anybody?
Yeah, source of water. I mean, gosh, flashlight. I would have a sidearm at a minimum, if not a good sized buck knife or something you can make a spear out of. I mean, but water, food, rations, basic first aid kit. Again, weather dependent. If it might rain, I would bring a poncho or a rain jacket. An extra pair of socks. Extra layers. Again, depending on the time of year. But people are like, I'm only going to be out for a couple hours, and then a storm rolls in, then they're unprepared.
Hey, it happened to Gilligan and Skipper. They were on a 3-hour tour, and look what happened to them.
5 passengers set sail that day for a 3-hour tour. A 3-hour tour.
3-hour tour.
Oh, I love it.
I was definitely about to ask that one.
I don't think I can get in trouble for playing it. I don't know.
So, Mike, I got one last question. I feel like I'm the question guy here. You're educating me well.
No, because I have a list of questions in front of me that I came up with, and you're just going through them. And we didn't even talk, you and I. And you're just
that's because we're connected like that, man.
Good way to hog all the good questions, buddy.
Prepare to go outdoors. Get back
home.
Well,
okay. I'll save this one. Go ahead and ask your questions, but I'll save this one for the very end in case we need it, because it'll be a good way to end the show anyhow. So, cool. Answer or ask away.
Well, I guess my biggest one right now is dealing with actual wilderness medicine. What is, without naming, any major specifics, what is one of the worst examples of an injury that you've seen that you've had to actually...
Brother, I began, and when I was just being in Vegas and the Red Rocks, which is, a very popular hiking area because Vegas gets tourists from all over the world. And people are like, oh, I'm going to go.
Red Rocks are beautiful.
Yeah. And then you got Mount Charleston up the hill a bit further, which is, our mountain or where the snow play area is and all that stuff when it's winter
People
time.
don't even think, when they think about Vegas, they don't think about any of that.
No, they think about the strip and gambling and showgirls. Yeah. Nope. There's a wilderness out there, but no, I've seen everything from people falling off 100+ foot cliffs, dying out there, femur fractures, head split open. I mean, simple sprains and strains. They got so far off the beaten path, like they went off the trail and decided to go, oh, this looks pretty. Let's go hike on this non-trail area, and they, like, people's foot got stuck in a crevasse, basically, small crevasse between two rocks, and they couldn't get their foot out of the rock, and their friend had to go down the hill or to get cell service and call for search and rescue. I mean, it could be very simple to death. I mean, I've seen all of that in my career. I was doing an off-road race. I was the medic on an off-road race. It's called Vegas to Reno, and we were in old mine country. And this little girl, her dad was one of the course workers, and she wandered off and she fell down a mine shaft. And just a hole, or breathing. I guess it was the breathing hole or whatever. But she got stuck, like that girl Jessica from that story back in the day. Baby Jessica. It was kind of like that. And they had to call search and rescue, cave rescue people, confined space rescue. The oxygen tubes went down there and everything because she fell so far down that shaft, and she was stuck. And the race coordinator guy was super pissed because she fell where the off-road vehicles are going to be going through there at 100 miles an hour and stuff, and he was super pissed that he had to alter the course. The park ranger was like, I don't give a shit. There's a little girl dying out there about you, screw your race,
What a dick.
Yeah.
And you would think that, you see some of these things that happen to people and you're like, how in the world, like, how did that happen? I've been on a race with Missy. There was a lady who tripped over a small branch that had been cut to make way for the actual trailhead. And she tripped, and it was maybe 1.5 inches out of the ground. And from the lower portion of her patella all the way down to her shin, all the way through, just opened it up to the bone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. We had to treat that. And I was delayed on the course for like, I don't know how many hours waiting on EMS to come get her. I had to clean out her leg with an actual camelback bladder. Mm-hmm. And she was not pleased about that.
Oh, no. No. I can imagine that's kind of next best thing to wound packing.
Oh, it was gross.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, so one thing we haven't touched on in my list of questions is what about kids? What's the best way to get them trained up, interested in, or at least started in thinking about their own safety when they're out without parents around?
Well, I'm not up to current knowledge of what the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts do anymore because of all the crap that went on with the current state of the world. But I mean, I was a Boy Scout and a Cub Scout and all that stuff. So they do camping stuff.
Me too. I learned a lot.
Yeah. I mean, if I don't know, I grew up camping all the time, fishing with my dad. We always went camping and fishing and hunting and all that stuff. So I mean, I was fortunate, but most kids, again, today's world, because back when I was a kid, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have video games like they have now. We didn't have cell phones. So we were always doing stuff, jumping our bikes in the middle of the street in our house, playing tackle football on the front lawn. I mean, it's a different world now. So, I mean, if these kids aren't going out there and trying to, or their parents aren't taking them out camping to enjoy nature without that extracurricular activity of the Scouts or some kind of extracurricular thing they do in school, some kind of camping club at school or something. But again, it also depends on where you live. I mean, if you even have that ability to go into the wilderness or a camping area. But gosh, I mean, if you don't take your kids out and let them learn the world, I mean, gosh, I mean, if you just took your kid out there for the first time, hey, we're going to go camping for the first time, and and you have no clue what you're doing. I mean, God, at that point, I probably had my kid on a leash.
I remember my first time camping as a Boy Scout, or I think it was a Cub Scout. I actually was Cub Scouts. I can't remember, but I remember it like it was yesterday, and I'm old. And it left an impact on me. It changed the way I think about things when I'm out, alone or in the woods or anything. Those are big events in your childhood.
Yeah, I mean, all those merit badges that those kids earn, and especially the ones that follow through all the way to Eagle Scout, and did all that stuff. That good for them. At least, they're more worldly in my opinion. But these kids nowadays, like even my son did not want to do anything outside. He just wanted. I mean, he never jumped on a bike. He never jumped on a skateboard. He barely played soccer, but he just wanted to play video games, and stay in that alternate reality world and shoot on the head playing Call of Duty or whatever, or Halo or something, But he had no interest at all. Like he was miserable every time we went camping. He was just, I'm bored.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, and that was God, early 2000s to 2009, 2010. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. But
when you're camping, you get to light stuff on fire, cut stuff down, chain stuff up, rope things. I mean, you get to do all kinds of fun things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was fun for me, but my kid, my youngest was like, nope, this ain't my jam. I'm going to go back to where there's electricity and alternate worlds and I can shoot people in the head on Call of Duty. That was his jam, Call of Duty.
I've got one who's almost 30 and he still is that way. So I understand that pain.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really hard to say for people that don't get their kids out there in nature and let them experience that.
So you're saying it starts with the parents, getting them involved, searching out the different clubs and events.
Well, if they don't do it on their own, it's at their school or event or they don't have friends that, I mean, obviously there's peer pressures, or not peer pressures, but, their friends' kid, they're another family of the, friends of the family, they go camping. We'll take my kid with you and let them get dirty and get some dirt under his fingernails and rough it, and cooked trout caught from the stream that day kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Is that even an option?
Yeah, I think my kids, when they were young, the last club or thing they did like that, I think, was a summer camp with the Y, and we were in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Texas. They were able to go on like every single day. They went to like a lake, you know, and there was shooting bows and arrows, there was fishing, there was boating, swimming, learning how to swim, learning how to save lives, you know, campfires, cooking, creative deals, all kinds of stuff. I mean, so much social interaction, and you know,
I just don't think that world
molding
exists.
that little mind, you know.
Yeah, I don't think that world exists anymore for as a whole, because we're so, again, the internet and video games.
Not everywhere, no.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you grew up in a small town or even a mid-sized town, but I think big metro cities, you know, gosh, even when, Vegas has got almost 4 million people now before I left, and there was hardly kids at the park.
Well, and also it comes to an expense as well. Those things are pretty darn expensive these days, those camps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I remember when my dad was a kid, he was telling me, oh, yeah, they had, like, that was a thing. Like that movie Dirty Dancing, you know, they had that little summer camp. That
was totally a thing. We went to the camp all the time. Yeah. In fact, the camp I went to was the one that they used.
You know,
they used for what was the with Jason, with the mask guy. The
13th. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Camp Crystal Lake or whatever it was. Yeah, exactly. Up in New Jersey.
Yeah,
that explains a lot.
No, it does not. It does not explain a lot.
Some things have been revealed. Yeah, exactly. You know, when I was younger, of course, I grew up in South Texas, and we used to go camping, and my parents were like, "Yeah, cool, go camping." And as when we were little, we used to camp in like the backyard or whatever.
Yeah.
Wake up early.
But that's still, you're pitching a tent. You're even if it's the backyard. I mean, it's hot out here. It's cold outside. You know,
you wake up in the morning, we'd make bacon and eggs, and then we actually, as we got older, we got to go camping like out and stuff like that. And man, we used to do all kinds of stupid shit. And it's usually it would end up in a fist fight, and then we would get along after that. But it's like,
but it was an experience.
Even when I was scout, we used to do that kind of stuff, but nobody does it anymore. Nope. It's I don't know, man.
Well, it's relative safety because you're right there. Your parents are inside the house, not for the kid, but for the parent. It's relative safety for the kids. For the kids, they don't think that way. For them, they're roughing it. They're out in the wilderness when they're in the backyard, somewhere in a tent, overnight without anybody around, with any creature could come get them. Their mind is in a different place than their parents' mind. Their parents are like, they're right over there. They're fucking fine. There's nothing wrong with them.
I used to mess with my kids when they would want to camp in the backyard. I'd be like, oh yeah, absolutely. I'd go out there at like 2 a.m. and start shaking the tent and screaming stuff in there.
In a ghillie suit.
Hell yeah, making like horrible noises, and you could just hear them in there freaking out. Oh, that's the best. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Well, I know we didn't get into the to the actual medicine part of things, and that's fine because I know for wilderness medicine is not real. I mean, what are we talking about? Like medicinals and things like that. But that's fine. We can get into that another time.
Like I said, it's basic EMT stuff. Most of your wilderness or your medical kits, your trauma kits, whatever. It's mostly ace bandages and Curlex and bacitracin and owie boo boo stuff.
Right.
Maybe a SAM splint, like a foldable aluminum foam SAM splint, but that's mostly what it is. And like I said, unless you're a clinician or a practitioner or a paramedic or whatever, and you want to bring extra toys with you and IVs and stuff and whatever, but your basic kit's all ace bandages and gauze and bacitracin and
right. So wilderness, it's not really, I mean, I guess I'm saying it wrong. It's not wilderness medicine. It's wilderness first aid. Wilderness medicine is more like the mushrooms and the different things.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a different avenue. I mean, because that's the stuff that I'm kind of learning right now, because they call it austere. It's an austere medicine. It's called austere medicine acute care and austere medicine trauma care. So, yeah, when they, again, since I have medical knowledge, they go into a lot of anatomy and physiology, how the, and then they go on, and then they get into the botany of the medications and the flowers and how to search the flowers or the plants or the roots or whatever. It's a lot. I mean, I'm overwhelmed on, all this stuff that, like as an example, for one of my class projects I had to make a honey poultice or a honey plaster. So honey's antimicrobial, antibacterial, all that stuff. And then they gave me some safflower, echinacea, yarrow, and something else. I can't remember. There's 4 herbs. I had to grind the herbs in a mortar and crush it. And then I had to take pictures or videos of every step I did. Then I had to mix it all up with the honey. And then I had to get myself a simulated wound, and how I would put it on the wound, and had to explain how long I'd leave it on the wound before I took that honey, plaster or poultice off, clean the wound, and then I'd reapply it depending on if it was a burn or a minor cut, so stuff like that. I mean, that's
fantastic, man. How long does a salve or solve work last in the bottle?
Well, that particular concoction is 24 hours, unless it's a really super deep gusher.
Yeah, right.
Your average laceration or whatever, he was talking about leaving it on for 24 hours. Wake up, go to bed with it, covered in a bandage or or whatever, and then take that stuff off. Get some clean water, the cleanest water you have, your canteen water, your Camelback. Rinse it off. See what the color of the skin looks like. Is the wound like it's healing? Because all those herbs as well as the honey is supposed to promote your tissues to start growing back and binding together. So again, depending on the cut. But he said you should see improvement within 24 hours, so if that, you're still out in the trail in the middle of nowhere, or, no one's coming to save you. Like, let's just say, it's the end of the world, world without law, whatever, and no one's really coming. Then, he talked about, okay, now you got to do it again, apply that stuff again, and just, watch how it heals and look at the color of the skin, see if there's any exudate or any serosanguinous fluid or any, discoloration of the skin or the wound, if it looks infected, stuff like that.
At Refuge Medical, any of the training courses, do they ever talk about panic or fear or stress and how you can handle that, whether it's yourself or the person who's injured? Yeah,
all of our scenarios are stress induced, especially for the trauma stuff. The TCCC type courses that we do, they're all stress induced. We stress you out. We make you super uncomfortable. We don't put you in danger, but there's a scenario that we do where, God, I'm kind of giving away a trade secret here. Anyways, but we have them you in a dark room and your child is in there, and she somehow got into this building and she wasn't supposed to be in there, but someone followed her in there, and they attacked her or they shot her or they stabbed her or whatever, and a lot of the people that came through that scenario came out crying, and like I pictured my own child in that situation.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
There's some really neat scenarios that Refuge puts together.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
For a fact, I can second that scenario without giving trying to give away some trade secrets there. That one touched me pretty hard, and
no one does that scenario the same way. I mean, no one thinks about turning the lights on. They just come in there with their little flashlight and try and see around the room, and it's completely barely any light coming in there because of the windows. But I mean, it's still very dark in there, and they don't think about, all they're thinking about is their kid. They got to get their kid, and then,
yeah.
And then sometimes their kid dies because they didn't do the proper medical stuff. They didn't put the tourniquet on. They didn't pack the wound, or the assailant's still in the building and they got shot. It's ever evolving. It changes all the time. The scenario's never the same, but you never pass the scenario.
So Refuge goes past and beyond just hey, this is a Band-Aid, stick it on. This is how you put it on.
Yeah. So we did a security church thing a couple months ago, and because we're got a lot of churches that want to do, because of all the way the world is, and we asked them, what is your worst fear in your church? Of this potential thing coming in. Like, well, some guy coming through the door shooting. Some guy goes on fire. He goes, well, we go, well, here's our worst case scenario. You got a family comes to your church. They look like, happy, John and Jane, and they stay in your congregation. They get involved in the activities for 6 months, and they're just, oh yeah. So you kind of welcome them in with open arms. You're no longer worried about them. Then on that 7th month, Jane goes down the hallway to the kids ministry, shoots all the ugly kids, keeps all the pretty looking kids. And then John and his friends come in and just kill everyone in the congregation. And then they traffic your children. Talk about a brain fuck.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Who writes this stuff, man?
All of us.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That thing's a thing. So
I'm assuming this is like a real life event that could actually or has actually happened.
It absolutely has happened numerous times.
Woo, somebody be getting an ass whooping.
Yeah, that's our worst. But so people, but then you got a lot of churches. Guns are bad. You can't bring them into God's house and blah, 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 blah. Even the preacher's the one, everyone's facing the preacher and he's the only one looking at the door. And
look, man, I guarantee you most people, there's a lot of people you don't even know they're carrying.
Right.
There's people in your church that you don't even know they're carrying.
But the whole point of that thing is a lot of people that are anti-gun or they're in a big mega church, in a big city, and there's typically security teams for stuff like that. But then you get like one of the big mega churches in Tulsa, it's like holds like 1,500 or 2,000 people.
Right.
And we're like, okay, so you have all these little smoke machines and all this stuff and the dancing and the singing and the blah, 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 blah. You're going to be able to make a surgical shot across that whole sanctuary without killing one of your parishioners?
No.
How come there's no rifles in this building? Or where's the first aid kit? Oh, it's upstairs on the 3rd floor, locked behind a locked door, locked in a cabinet. Well, that's awesome. Why don't you have one down here in the sanctuary? Stuff like that.
On the wall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I can call the paramedics and they'll take care of it for me.
Well, that's the problem. Everyone thinks EMS is. People don't understand. EMS is not going into a hot zone. The police have to make that. We call it code 4 back home. The police has to make that scene code 4, which means safe, before EMS comes in. People think that the fire department shows up or the ambulance shows up. They're just going to bum rush in there and start putting on Band-Aids. No, we don't go in until the cops secure it. And they start, saying, okay, you guys can come in now. And that sometimes takes hours.
Yeah, that's a bleed out situation.
Yeah. Yep. People don't think like that.
I've seen a lot of paramedics transition into police special operations medics because of that very reason.
But some cities don't have, or towns don't have TAC meds or TEMS teams,
Like a lot of those guys that are prior military, they become a paramedic and they're desperate to get into a situation, but they're told that they can't. And they're like, you know what? If I can't do that, then I'm going to become a cop. And I'm going to transition into doing that. So
yeah, but at least back home, my Metropolitan Police Department did not have, other than the SWAT team. If it was a SWAT call, that would be a different story. But your everyday cop, they weren't medics. They were medic stupid, and they most of them. And Dave can attest to this. We did a pretty big fire police department a few months back, and they were retarded. Even their paramedics for their local fire department. We did a tourniquet check on them, and 60% of them died. Because we just got done taking this TECC class, and we know what the hell we're doing, and they didn't put the tourniquets on tight enough, even for training, because it hurt. Yeah, but they died. I mean, technically, you bled out, you died, and you're a paramedic. Come on, bro.
Yeah, I was surprised that the lack of caring and wow, the unprofessionalism and just that it was.
It's a lot of ego.
Oh, man.
It's going to tell us how to do medicine. And then once we did all that, they were like, oh, shit, these guys know what the hell they're talking about. And they finally, the first couple hours, man, it was like they had attitudes. And then now it's like, oh, okay, we just gave you an eye-opener. Because you think you know what you're talking about, but you don't, or you're just being lazy.
That's a great point that people think, oh, well, I know how to stop a bleed. I know how to,
you don't know shit.
I've seen a video,
Yeah.
Until you actually do it. And that's what I really appreciate about Refuge and all the training I've done with them and the things is you pressure test people's knowledge. You teach, coach, mentor, and then pressure test it. It's game time.
Scenario, yep.
And with those scenarios, I don't see that I've had training with in the military, medical training with the military, and I've had some other civilian medical trainings, and it's a death by PowerPoint. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know,
well, even your typical stop and bleed classes, it's death by PowerPoint. They don't even take the tourniquet out of the wrapper.
Oh man, I hate to even say this because I'm not one of the instructors, but there's a stop the bleed, I'll just say that, class out there that's pushed all over the United States, that it's a 2-hour max course that's all PowerPoint. They do a little hands-on, but it's so weak that it's almost worthless. You know what I mean?
But people think they're getting this great education because they saw you can watch videos till you're blue in the face until you put that information from your hands and physically touch it and smell it and taste it. You're not going to get the same experience.
Well, that right there. What he just said, that's the point of this whole entire conversation. Because if you say, hey, I got a prepper group and you've got standing in front of you, you can only take one. You've got a doctor or you've got a nurse. Which one do you take? You take the nurse. The doctor's the one that's saying, you got a cut. Nurse, come fix it. Doctor's saying, you got a headache. Nurse, come put some ice on him. The nurse is the one doing all the work.
Yep. She's got all the hands-on experience. He's just got the book knowledge, and he has the authority.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. And it's interesting. Everybody is stoked about doing, lots of different training and lots of different stuff until they actually have to pack a wound. They have to take out compressed gauze and start packing.
Yep.
And until you see somebody's face when they've got 2 or 3 knuckles inside of another person's body while they're trying to stop a bleed, there's no way you can effectively get to that moment unless it actually happens for real.
I immediately thought of Refuge Medical. Last night we watched, it just came on Netflix. We watched the Civil War, that movie. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was going to be something totally different. But besides that, there was a scene where there was somebody packing. Mm-hmm. I'd never seen that before, and I know that was Hollywood, but damn, it looked real. And they were just shoving it in and pushing it, and they ultimately died anyway. They bled out. Yeah. But wow, I immediately thought of Refuge Medical in that class you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that follow us, like they follow TJ, who's very independent, because he's the prepper guy, the homestead guy, and they buy all this cool stuff, all the guns, all the cool high, brand name backpacks and this, that, and the other, and none of them know how to use it. That was another thing we pressure tested and was like, okay, so here's the loadout. You have all this stuff in your backpack. We have a nice little, here we call Mountain Motherfucker. It's about 150 yards long. For our little mountain, and they came to class not prepared. They didn't go out and plus, at that time last year it was still, I think it was the end of summer, so it was still humid at AF. And we were like, you need to be walking with your rucksack a couple months prior to coming out here, because for one, it's going to be hot. And two, you got to be able to handle 65 plus pounds or however big your backpack is with all your 3-day loadout in it, and none of them, not none of them, but most of them did not do that. And they got smoked.
I'm not making it up that hill.
I feel like we've done an episode about that before.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy. I'm 5 foot nothing, and 140 pounds, if that. And my backpack weighs 65 pounds, and it kicked my ass. But I still train with it. I still do the things, even though I struggle a little bit because I'm also not a spring chicken anymore. But these people that are younger than me, 30s and late 20s, and they can even handle their backpack for a 1.5 mile ruck.
Listen, man, I carry 150 extra pounds on me everything I do all day. And I feel it. I feel it every day.
Yeah. They have all this gear they don't even know how to use too. Like, well, I'm going to buy this chest needle, and someone that's a doctor or a paramedic might use it in case I need it. That's cool, I guess, to have that in your first. I'm just using that as an example. I have all this, because I'm a gear queer. I'm not going to lie. I always buy the flashy newest thing that comes out, but I at least train with it.
If you told the average person, hey, I need you to put a needle D into the 4th or 5th intercostal space, they would just look at you like something's growing out of your forehead.
Yep.
The intercostal what?
Yeah, exactly. What's a needle D? And that's a good point. I think that there's a lot of people, like, I know how to do needle D. I really do. I have trained extensively on it. I don't actually want to do a needle D on somebody. I mean, it would have to be.
Sounds like you're talking about a rapper or something. I mean,
needle decompression.
Straight term back home is chest dart. We do a chest called it chest dart.
Needle decompression for what is essentially collapse lung.
Oh yeah, gotcha. I've seen that on TV.
It's super invasive too.
It's extremely invasive, and it's wicked painful from what I have personally seen.
You pop it through a couple ribs, and the air comes out. It's all good.
And then you poke their heart, and they die.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, what can we close on? Because we are definitely past the hour.
I got a good way to close this out, Mike. You got a lot of. Refuge has a lot of training coming up, so Can you kind of give our audience a little bit of idea of what you guys have coming up this year?
Well, we have our wilderness class, as you know, in May. We have VIP courses that I can't talk about unless you're a VIP, because you know about those VIP courses because you're teaching one of them. Unless you want to talk about it, that's on you. But most of our classes are tactically based, so we have responder 1, 2, and 3. Responders like the basic, 2 is the intermediate, and 3 is like the paramedic, where we really fuck with you and give you the really crazy scenarios. And it's tourniquet checks all day long. It's a little bit of physical fitness, depending on the time of year. We'll make you do a little exercise to get your heart rate up, get squirted with the water hose. We tell them to bring clothes, change of clothes, that kind of stuff. We have the church security classes we do. We have little mini responders or mommy and me type courses for the moms and the kids. We just had one, 2 weeks ago? And there was like 25 kids and their parents in there, just basic trauma stuff. But yeah, most of our stuff is trauma related,
How did the kids do, man? That was a question I did have. I was wanting to ask you how well. And what age do you teach kids? I mean, what?
We typically 8 years old, but they have to be a super mature 8-year-old, not all squiggly and whatever. But from my understanding, the kids that were in that 8, 9, 10-year-old age group, they were actually paying attention and were excited about putting tourniquets on their parents or having their parents put tourniquets on them, or the pressure wraps, the Slishman pressure wrap, but we tried to keep the gore down to a minimum for those kinds of classes because we don't want to scare them, have nightmares, because one of the videos we show in the beginning of every Responder 1 class is this guy that gets shot. And we ask him, first of all, how many bullets or how many rounds did you hear? Secondly, where was he shot? And then we show all 3 stages of blood loss, where he goes to compensatory, decompensatory shock, and then total. He's you see all the blood on the floor that leaked out of his femur.
And it's bad.
Yeah.
It is gory, bloody.
Is this Hollywood or is this for real?
No, it was real. It was filmed in, I believe it was in India. It was a Pakistani Marines and an Indian guy. Basically, they were clearing out a village, and he didn't want to get on the bus, so they shot him.
Ooh.
And we just watched all 3 stages of blood loss. We want people to have this knowledge. That's all it is. We want to have this, people to have this knowledge, and whether it's the church stuff or the basic trauma stuff, or just even knowing how to put on a tourniquet by itself.
So I don't have a lot of money. I can't travel to Oklahoma to one of your classes. It's just, what are the ways I can get the training?
We can show you. Refuge made a video of the whole class. It's on video, but it's not the same because we can't pressure check you. So we can show you what we did. We can show you what the students did because we filmed all of that stuff. Just click on the training tab and it'll say live classes, in-person classes. Then we have RTPs, which are Refuge training partners. Those are guys that we trained in our way that pass all of our inspections, and they live in different states. So they're teaching our same curriculum. We've given them the okay to teach our curriculum, and we signed off on them to teach it the way we teach it. So there's people like in Indiana, Utah, all over, a few different states in the country, if that's closer to drive to than coming to Oklahoma.
Cool. Well, Mike, we appreciate you coming on, man. Once again, an awesome episode, and you're always welcome to come back on. It's Medic Mike from Refuge Medical. We appreciate you, man.
All right, brother. You guys have a blessed night. Thank you so much.
My prepper brothers and sisters, need I say more? Wow, Medic Mike is awesome. He's the kind of guy you definitely want in your mag. He's a true life-saving machine. You can follow Mike, train with him, and stay in touch with him and the other trainers at the Rec Room at Refuge Medical. I'll put a link in the show notes. That's all for now. Stay prepped, stay happy. Thanks for listening, and good night.